wrecked Dad's car again and again. I hate them. I hate them so much. Ugh. They just love making me miserable. They make fun of me. They're mean to me. They think I'm not special. But I'll find out what makes me special one day. Everyone will love me, and they'll see. Hi, I'm Betty, and I hate my family. I'm the youngest child, and I have a mean older sister, Emily. My parents never wanted me, and they never failed to let me know that. Ah, man. I told you we shouldn't have kept the baby. Just look at her. She's so ugly. I'm not taking that thing in my house. That's what my dad said when I was born. And my mom replied, "Oh, shut up. Stop being so dramatic. She can be useful in the house." On my 10th birthday, I asked my mom why they don't celebrate my birthday like they do Emily's. "Oh, don't you know? We didn't plan for you, and we don't want you. Also, we look like a royal family, and just look at you. You look like a maid." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But she wasn't finished. "I think it's time you start earning your keep in this house. Starting tomorrow, you're doing all the house chores. Since you're old enough to ask for a birthday party, you're old enough to work." I knew I wasn't beautiful like Emily. I think I wasn't really beautiful at all, but something down in my soul told me that I'm special in some way. Not bragging, but I just knew it. I just had to find it. The next day, I was napping when my sister barged into my room and slammed the door. I woke up immediately feeling really startled. She stood by the door with a sneaky smile on her face. "Aw, poor baby. Are you scared? I'm so sorry I woke you up." I was so angry. I knew she wasn't sorry. She got a thrill out of making me miserable. She was always trying to embarrass me at school, too. One morning, while I was getting ready for school, she entered my room with a yellow sundress and threw it at me. "Here, you can wear this. It's too outdated for me now, but it's still better than anything you have." I knew immediately that she gave me that dress because she wanted to humiliate me. "Sure," I replied. So I changed some things about the dress to make it more fashionable, and then I paired it with black boots. When I walked into class, everyone was staring at me. I could tell they were impressed by my outfit and sense of fashion. I was so happy. After class, when Emily saw me in the hall, she looked shocked and horrified. "How dare you do that to my dress?" Ugh! With that, she stormed off angrily, and I felt even happier. One day, I saw Emily going through Mom's cupboard and walking away with a box. Of course, they wouldn't mind her taking anything she wanted, but a couple of days later, Mom barged into my room with Dad and Emily right behind her, accusing me of stealing her jewelry. I told her I didn't do it. Then I pointed at Emily. "Why don't you ask your precious daughter? I saw her taking it." Emily gave me an evil smile, and I started to feel suspicious. "Emily would never do that. I'm going to search your room, and if I find it, girl, you'll wish you were never born." What an irony. She searched my room and found the jewelry. I was dumbfounded. Emily must have planted it in my room. I just stood there, speechless. "You thief!" Emily was giggling, and Dad started screaming at me. No matter how many times I said I hadn't stolen it, he just wouldn't believe me. He told me I was grounded for 2 weeks with no phone and no lunch money. As if that wasn't bad enough, he said I had to clean the house from top to bottom. I looked at my dad with hatred. He pampered my mom and Emily, but treated me like dirt. I couldn't take it anymore, so I screamed at them. "I hate you. I hate you guys." They looked shocked because I'd never stood up to them before. "Just you watch. I'll find what makes me special, and people will love me for it." I stormed out of the room and ran outside to my dad's car and kicked it. It felt good. A week after that, I was looking for my math assignment everywhere. I asked Emily if she had taken it, but she said no. Of course, I didn't trust her, so I waited till she went out with her friends, and then I sneaked into her room. I wasn't surprised when I found it under her bed next to her iPod. I decided to take that too. That's when I discovered my love for music. Whenever I was upset and wanted to escape my family, I would go into my room and listen to songs on the iPod. I would sing along, and it would really calm me down. One day in the cafeteria, I was walking to a table when Emily suddenly threw something on the floor. Before I could stop myself, I had stepped on a banana peel and I slipped, with my lunch flying everywhere. I heard someone say, "What a clumsy fool." I was so embarrassed, I just ran out of there. After that day, I started eating in the school library all by myself. One day during lunch break, I was listening to music on my iPod as usual, and I started singing along when I heard a voice say, "Oh my, you have such an angelic voice." I turned around to see it was the school librarian, Mrs. Shepherd. She looked really impressed, but I didn't believe her. "Thank you, but I don't think there's anything special about my voice." She told me to sing it again, and this time, she recorded it on her phone. I'd never thought about that. She played it back, and I heard the most beautiful tone. At that moment, I realized I discovered my gift. I was so ecstatic. I hugged her and said, "Thank you so much. I've wanted to have something special my whole life, and you've made me realize what it is." I rushed home to tell my family about my singing ability. They just stared at me for a moment and then burst out laughing. "What an attention seeker you are, Betty. Just stop making stuff up. You're never gonna be anyone special." After the jewelry incident, I hadn't been able to forgive Dad for not believing me and treating me badly, and he was just doing it again. I wanted to hurt him as much as he had hurt me, so I decided to call his company and accuse him of theft. Dad worked as an account manager for a business firm, and I wasn't exactly sure if he had stole from the company, but someone as horrible as him must be shady, and I wanted him investigated. At the end of my junior year, I was singing in my room when my sister screamed from her room, "Stop squawking like a bird!" I rolled my eyes and yelled, "You would know since you screech like one." Just then, there was a knock at our main door. I ran to open it and found 2 male cops standing there. One of them asked, "Is this the Blackwell residence?" Everyone was in the hall by now, and the cops walked straight over to Dad and said he was under arrest for embezzlement. The company he worked for had discovered that he had been moving their money to an offshore account. Before the cops left, they asked me how I knew my dad was stealing money. I told them I had my suspicions. My family couldn't believe what they were hearing. Dad started screaming at me. "You ungrateful girl! You called the cops on me! I hate you!" "I can't believe you! I should have listened to your father when he said we shouldn't keep you." My sister could only scream and cry. I couldn't care less. After Dad was sentenced to jail, we became the talk of the town and everyone looked at us with contempt. Mom decided to move us to a small town where we could start afresh. I was so excited because I didn't really have friends in school because my sister had made everyone think I was a loser. The day we moved to our new house, my mom said, "Don't get yourself too excited, young lady. You'll have to fend for yourself now. Now that you've sent your dad away, I'm no longer responsible for you. You should be grateful I haven't disowned you." I rolled my eyes. I don't expect anything less. The next day, I started looking for a job, and I eventually found one in a small antique store as a salesperson. When I was walking back home, I heard someone singing, and I traced the voice to a guy in the park. He sounded beautiful. I sat next to him on the bench and started singing along. He seemed startled, but didn't stop, and before I knew it, we'd gathered a crowd. Surprisingly, that became the beginning of my music career. After the performance, the guy introduced himself. "My name is Zach. You have a really nice voice. I've never drawn a big a crowd as you did today." I was so flattered, I could only smile. That night, I went home with a skip in my step. Mom noticed my smiley face and asked if I'd gotten a job. I couldn't help spilling out the reason for my excitement, but Mom just rolled her eyes and Emily nastily said, "The townspeople must be deaf. And I'm sure this Zach guy is better than you. You're just jealous because I have talent, and you can't sing a note to save your life." She looked like she wanted to strike me dead, and that made my day. The next day, as I was working at the antique store, I started singing when I thought I was all alone. Just then, the owner came out of the back room. "You have a great singing voice. You should meet my son. He loves to sing too." I was surprised to hear that, but I said I would love to meet him. He called his son, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw Zach. We both laughed, then told his dad how we had already met once before. And every evening since that day, we would go to the park and sing. We started making good money, and the townspeople were so friendly and kind to me. Zach welcomed me into their home, and his family became my family. During my senior year at school, I decided to participate in the annual talent show. I was dressing up at home for my performance when my sister locked me in the room. I screamed and banged on the door. "Open this door right now!" She didn't reply. I kept banging on the door. "I will be late for the show, you moron! Give me money and I'll open the door." She was unbelievable. "You dumb fool. It's not my fault you're so spoiled you can't work to earn your own money." I became frustrated and threw my chair at the door. She wanted the money I'd been saving to go to college. I vowed I wouldn't ever share anything with her, even if we were the last 2 humans on Earth. I finally escaped through the window without injuries, and I made it to school just in time. I performed really well, and at the end of the show, an elegant, well-dressed woman walked up to me and said, "You have a great gift." The world needs to know about it. She gave me a card and told me she would love to offer me a music scholarship. Turned out, she was one of the directors at Juilliard and was invited by Zach's dad to watch my performance. It was such an amazing surprise. That day was joyous, and the whole town was thrilled for me. Well, everyone except my family, and I don't care about them. Hi, my name is Selena. Do you know the feeling of having an annoying sister in your life who is just there to ruin everything for you? Well, mine is a psycho-jealous sister. She used my condition against me, but I got rid of her eventually. You see, I was born to super rich parents who owned more than half the city, and after I was born, they just went crazy with happiness. On my first tooth party, my dad organized a water park party for all the kids, but when Mom brought me outside, I started yelling and my skin turned super red, like blood. Luckily, there was a doctor in the crowd and he came running to help. I was diagnosed with extreme photosensitivity that would only increase as I aged. Basically, I could never step out in the sun without getting burned. After that, my parents always kept me indoors during the day, and all the windows were covered with black curtains. Once when I was 4, I cried and said, "I want to go to school and have friends." "Oh, honey, you can't, but we'll bring them both to you. We'll hire private teachers for you, and we'll get you a pet." They got me a really cute hamster, and he was kind of my best friend. All was good until my little sister was born. Her name was Rita, and she was pure evil. I discovered she was jealous of me once she turned 3. She knew about my condition, but she was still angry that my parents paid more attention to me. On her 3rd birthday, she got me a piece of cake with a candle on it and said, "Now this candle will burn you." "No, honey, I'm only allergic to the sun, not candles." "Oh, so it won't hurt you? Well then, okay." And with that, she threw the candle on my bed, and the blanket instantly caught fire. I started yelling for my parents, and I almost got hurt getting out of the room. Once, when I was 8, Rita threw a tantrum that she wanted to be homeschooled like me, but of course, my parents refused. What made things worse was what happened on my 10th birthday when my parents invited everyone to a super fancy restaurant at night. One sophisticated lady saw me and said to Mom, "Oh, your daughter is very pretty, like too pretty. But the other one, oh, she's not pretty, like at all. Oh, yes, the youngest one is just ugly. I wonder if she'll ever get married." Just then, Rita stood up and flung juice straight at the women's faces. Then she turned to me. "You just wait and watch, Selena. I'm gonna make you wish you were the ugliest girl on the planet. You'll be praying to God to make you ugly." That night, I was asleep when I heard some noises. I opened my eyes to see Rita holding a big poster of her drawings. Things like her hanging someone up, crucifying others, and taking someone's eye out. "Do you see this eye? It's yours, babe, but one day it's gonna be mine." I stood up and pushed her away and locked the door behind her. She was a total psycho. Over the coming years, Rita just wouldn't understand that I got special treatment because of my condition. I tried to reason with her, so I thought maybe throwing a party where we could both invite our friends would help us get closer. What a stupid decision that was. I was 13 back then and invited the only 2 friends I had, Mark and Emily, while Rita invited half the school. Suddenly, during the party, Rita stood in front of everyone holding up a drawing I'd made. It was the 3 of us, me, Mark, and Emily. "Listen here, everyone. So our princess Selena can draw, but she also has a little secret. Let me read it for you. I'm so in love with Mark, but I also love Emily. I will soon ask them both out and kiss them both at the same time. I will kidnap Emily if she rejects me. We will be the happiest lovers triangle." Everyone went silent, and Mark and Emily turned red. I couldn't believe my sister would lie like that. "No, you liar! I didn't write that. You just came up with it. Why are you so evil?" "Why are you so perfect?" "I'm not, Rita. I wish I was normal, just like you." "Oh, like me? You wish. I would never have a boyfriend and a girlfriend at the same time. That's just shameless. Ew! You do that to the only 2 people who like you? That's just dumb and gross. Just stop it." Just then, Mike took Emily's hand and left. I was so shocked and embarrassed that I didn't even stop them. I just went to my room and locked the door, and the party continued like nothing had happened. After that day, I knew I had to teach Rita a lesson, and I knew that the best way to tease her was to live my life to the fullest. The very next day, I invited Mark over. When he came to my room, I made sure to leave the door open so Rita could hear everything. Mark, I'm really sorry about last night. You know that my sister is... Listen, Selena, I don't believe a word your psycho sister says, but I was just too embarrassed to say, so I left. I put my finger on his mouth and pulled him closer to kiss him. Mwah! Will you be my boyfriend, Mark? He said yes, and we hugged. Then I heard Rita's room door close very hard. In your face, witch. Over the next 2 years, Rita was always making it obvious how jealous she was of me for having a boyfriend. She even tried to break into my room several times. Once, she used a knife to open it, but luckily I was ready. I attacked her with pepper spray and ran to my parents. Once she brought home a boy who was 4 years older than her. Dad totally lost it and kicked him out. My parents were getting so tired of her craziness. But the last straw was when she called the police at midnight once. To my horror, she slipped her t-shirt off her shoulder to show scratches on her skin, and she pointed accusingly at Mark. That boy, he's dangerous. He attacked me. I barely managed to escape. What? My parents told the cops that she was making it all up, and Mark would never do such a thing. Gosh, if you're so jealous, just get yourself a boyfriend, you ugly psycho bimbo. I expected her to say something harsh, but instead she started crying and fell on her knees. She looked up pleadingly at the cops. See how my family treats me. Just take me away from them. Please, help me. Please save me. What an actress. Next morning, my parents took Rita to a psychologist. Turned out my sister had some issues and needed therapy every few days. But she didn't take that so well. After a few days, when I got back from my date with Mark, I found Rita had prepared meat sandwiches for me. What did she want? To poison me? I said no and went to my room. I wanted to feed my little hamster, but I didn't find him there. I started looking everywhere. Then it hit me. Oh my God! I ran back to her. Where is my hamster? I don't know. What did you do to my hamster? I don't know. Mom, Dad, Rita ate my hamster. And then I passed out. When I woke up, my parents told me that they had talked to Rita's doctor and she might be admitted to a psychiatric ward. I wasn't really happy to hear that, but I knew it was for everyone's safety. A month later, Rita was gone and transferred to that hospital. Life was good, and I had the best time with Mark and Emily. 4 years passed, and it was the day of my graduation. I was so in love with Mark that I wanted to marry him right away, even though we were so young. He agreed, and my parents suggested he move in with us. So he did. During the day, Mark would leave for college, and I would stay home. One day, I called for the maids to get me something to eat, but no one responded. I went downstairs and found no one. Then I heard a familiar voice. I was sure it was the voice of my hamster, but it seemed to be coming from the backyard. I thought I'd just take a quick look and it wouldn't hurt me. But I just popped my head out the door when suddenly someone pulled me out with all their force. Hey, miss me, sis? What are you doing here? Oh, well, they decided to let me go. I feel much better, actually. You really thought your hamster came back to life? Are you still that dumb, you spoiled daddy's girl? And then she pulled me out more, and I was under direct sunlight. It started to hurt my skin, and I screamed. Then I attacked her. One of the maids heard us and came running. When Rita saw her, she let me go and ran away. Thankfully, I wasn't hurt, and my parents told me that Rita had run away from the asylum, and they were looking for her now. I was sad for how things had turned out in my family, but my sadness was short-lived because I soon found out that I was pregnant. And 9 months later, I gave birth at home to my beautiful daughter, and I named her Sally. When Sally started to crawl, we all knew she was a really curious, naughty baby. Once, she crawled out the kitchen door and out into the backyard, and she was completely quiet. I got scared and ran after her with the maids. When I got there, I saw another basket next to her, and a freaking baby in it. It was a boy. The note next to him said, "This is John, your nephew. I gave birth to him months ago and wanted to raise him, but I discovered that was hard. So I sent him to you, Selena. Take care of him, I guess." I looked at the baby's face and tears rolled down my cheeks. I kissed his forehead. This Rita was full of surprises. When I was about to shut the door and run to my parents, someone pushed it against me. It was Rita. "Oh, you're crying. and she pulled me into the backyard again. Thankfully, the maids were able to catch her and call the police. Rita was sent to jail this time, and I got a restraining order. Me and my family were finally safe. And baby John? Yeah, he was hers, and he lived with us. I raised him like mine. And now I have 4 kids, and we are a happy family.
This happened last week. I, female 26, told my husband, 31, I was planning on having a girls' night in at home, and he initially was like, "No, not here, get a hotel or something." I said I couldn't afford a hotel, plus no need for a hotel. He asked if he could join us if he's going to allow it, but I said no, this isn't how girls' nights in work. He eventually agreed to let me have it and even said he'd go out so my friends could be comfortable. I invited the girls over, and most of them had a lot of heavy venting to do. At some point, things got a bit emotionally charged and there was crying, lots of it. After that, we brought in the food and drinks. When I went to turn the TV on, I spotted a small device tucked on the side. I took a look and found that it was a voice recording device. I was in disbelief. I knew my husband put it there to listen to our private talk, which felt highly violating. I didn't hide it from the girls. I showed them the device, called my husband to get home, and confronted him right there in front of the girls. The girls were shocked, and my husband denied it after I flipped out and called him out. Then he said he was curious about what we were talking about and wanted to make sure we weren't trash-talking him specifically, so the event was cut short and the girls left. I kept lashing out at him for ruining the night and possibly my relationship and trust with my friends. I said that not only did he violate my privacy, but my friends as well, because they were talking about very personal stuff. He argued that it was no big deal, that I should have let him join us if we had nothing to hide, and that this was on them for opening up about private matters to begin with. He went on to talk about how I humiliated him to call him out in front of my friends. I told him they deserve to know who he is after what he's done. We argued some more, and he went out again. We're in conflict till today, and I feel like I made a mistake calling him out like that, aside from how I felt about it. He claims that my friends will no longer respect him after that. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He's 100% in the wrong. His saying, "if I allow it," is a huge red flag. He has no regard for you or your privacy, and I would honestly look at this relationship and ask yourself if it's worth it. I don't see this behavior ever getting better without serious intervention. Doing this is controlling, shows he doesn't trust you, and can alienate you from your friends if you stay with him. I don't usually agree with the suggestion of divorce, but in this case, you need to. Not only has he irrevocably broken your trust in him, but he may have caused damage to your friendships. He also gaslighted you by saying you should have been invited if nothing was to hide. He tried to shift the blame to your friends and to you for his actions and choices. That's manipulation and abuse. You need to run fast. Where else has he planted recording devices that he's keeping track of you? This is beyond scary. Yep, this is just the one he got caught for. If he's so cavalier about using that device and justifying it like this, there's no telling what else he has installed elsewhere. His wanting OP to keep this private only benefits him. Being called out makes it more difficult to justify his behavior, but if he can keep it just between the two of you, OP, he can manipulate you further. Shout what he did from the rooftops. Why would your friends respect him after this? Ask him that. This is an incredible invasion of privacy. Not the idiot, OP. Do not stay with this man if you value your and others' privacy. How are you ever going to be able to trust him again yourself? If he'll record conversations he's not welcome to join, he'll likely talk about private things about you and your relationship to others. Privacy seems to mean nothing to him. Does he look through all your stuff? Your drawers and closets? The pockets of your clothes? Your phone? Are you allowed to have a separate bank account? In a bank separate from his? You have some decisions to make. Good luck. My nephew, Jamie, nearly adult male, is in trouble with his dad, my brother and stepmom because he locked himself in his room and left his stepsisters, tween young teen, alone even though he was supposed to watch them. He's currently not allowed to drive his car unless his sisters want to go somewhere, hang out with friends, and my brother even took some of his things, clothes and jewellery that his mother made. Background info. Jamie's mother used to design clothes and make jewelry ever since she was a teenager. It wasn't her job, but a hobby, and she honestly made some pretty neat stuff. After she passed, Jamie took the things and even wore the jewelry. He wears some clothes, but most of them are for women and girls, and he's too tall for them. LMAO. When I asked my brother why in the world he took those things, he said his wife said it'll make him understand consequences better or something. I don't know. He also said he'd give the items back after his punishment was over. Anyways, my brother told me that his wife gave away most of the things to her friends and family. The girls even completely ruined some things. I honestly freaked. Jamie adores his mother's creations, and now he has nothing but maybe 2 rings and a necklace. Almost 20 years worth of things gone in a month. I was horrified and heartbroken. My brother called me because Jamie has been asking for things back and he doesn't know what to do. So I told him to kick rocks and texted Jamie immediately and informed him of what had happened. He was upset but thankful. About 2 hours later, my brother showed up at my house. He was in tears and asked me why the heck I did that. He said I didn't even warn him, and now he's afraid that he won't be able to fix his relationship with Jamie. He called me to help make things right, and I didn't even give him a chance to fix things. I told him that Jamie not talking to him was his own fault, and he said that wasn't the point. He insists I should have helped him to get the things back. He called me a witch and an idiot and said he hoped I was happy now. I don't think I'm the idiot, because if it were my things, I'd want to know. Jamie even said he appreciated it, and again, my brother honestly deserves this. But I do see his point, and his wife and our parents think I'm in the wrong as well. Not the idiot. First of all, Jamie is not a baby. He has the right to know what's going on. Second, I hate the idea of parents forcing their older children to care for the younger ones. Take care of your damn things. Giving away his late mother's stuff is evil stepmother in movies crap. That's not right. If it were me, I'd offer to hold on to what's left until he moves out, so this doesn't happen again. Your brother needs to accept the consequences of his own behavior. If he believed his kid had to do that to that extent, he has no right to say he shouldn't have had to deal with them. Not the idiot. What your brother and his wife did overstepped the bounds of discipline right into cruelty. They didn't just ground him and take away his phone or gaming stuff. Instead, your sister-in-law took what little he has left of his dead mother and gave it to strangers. And your brother let her. Tell your brother to tell his darling wife that she better go recollect the items that belong to her stepson, and she had no business giving them away. How dare she? Even the ones ruined by the girls. Perhaps we can fix them in some way. The dad needs to open a police investigation for the theft and be able to force returns of all goods given away. OP, Jamie's lucky to have you as an uncle, because somehow I don't think he'll be very close to his father from now on. Of course, that will make stepmommy dearest very happy, but it will also enable Jamie to have some sanity and decency in his life. Thanks to you. My wife has been in constant contact with our daughter-in-law, our son's wife, about many things. Their very recent argument ensued after my wife insisted on being present in the delivery room despite getting a resounding no. My wife was having none of it. And after my son and his wife exchanged hospitals to throw my wife off after she threatened to barge into the room, she eventually found out I didn't tell her and got very mad. I told her to stop and think, because she will lose all chances to see her grandbaby if she keeps this up. She told me off and made a huge scene at the hospital my daughter-in-law was in. It did not end well, and my wife came home crying hysterically after getting chewed out by our son and kicked out of the hospital. Things remained tense till my son called to invite me to see the baby for the first time. He did not invite my wife, which sent her into a mental breakdown. I argued with her after she tried to guilt me into staying with her and shame my son for keeping his mom away from her grandbaby. Still, I told her, I told you so, and said that she had plenty of opportunities to get right with our daughter-in-law, but she blew them away because of her stubbornness. She started yelling about how unsupportive and cruel I was, just like our son to be siding against her instead of defending her and staying home with her when our son banned her from meeting her grandbaby. I went anyway, and she kept arguing about me taking the wrong side instead of defending her. I feel bad for her, But at the same time, I think that she was being irrational and made this a competition despite knowing how our son and his wife felt about her behaviour. Not the idiot, completely. OP, I think you dealt with this in precisely the right way, but your wife sounds a bit disturbed at the very least, unable to get out of her way, and she reaped what she sowed. You told her to stop, and she continued being a complete nightmare of a mother-in-law. Everyone in the situation could see what was coming, except your wife. Next time she scolds you for seeing the baby, say, "Hun, there's no way that I'm going to willingly subject myself to a punishment you received for your bad behaviour. And instead of focusing on me, I suggest you think hard about the things you need to apologise for and the ways you need to act in the future so that you're granted a place in your grandchild's life. That's your path back from this situation. I hope you take it." Why on earth do you stay with this woman? Seriously, this can't be an isolated component of her personality because this behaviour is a pattern and an extreme one at that. So please, I gotta know, why are you remaining married to such a selfish jerk? It was probably never directed at him. He probably thought it was just her mama bear mode. She's just a great involved mother. Now the kids are grown and mom forgot to find herself a life. What was acceptable when the kids were 10 is not cute or cool when married and having a baby. I mean, honestly, she's effectively ruined all future holidays. What the heck? OP, your wife is being so irrational here, I'm a little worried for her. Is she this way about other things, or is this new behaviour for her? You might want to see a medical professional with her, if it's something new. My 24 female sister, 23, had my nephew Joe during her first year in college. The father is absent in his life and only pays child support. She's always hated the idea of my nephew growing up without a father figure. Since our only brother is nearly an adult and our dad passed 10 years ago, she dated recklessly for a while and introduced him to many dudes. 3 years ago, I met my now fiancé, Gabriel, 28. He's really sweet and adores my family. He's financially stable and is good with kids, has a bunch of nephews on his side, and comes from a good big family. So we've decided to be child-free, and if something happens to my sister and a few of Gabe's siblings, we're to be their legal guardians. For the past year, my sister has grown comfortable with pushing Joe around Gabe. She always invites him to my nephew's activities, which is fine, but she acts as if Gabe were her guest and I'm his +1, not otherwise. Plus, my brother used to be the one who got invited, and he's not anymore. She asked Gabe to drive her and Joe to places. My mom pointed out how they look like a family when he does it. She jokes about how much of a dad Gabriel is for Joe, and she dared to ask him once if he was comfortable with adopting Joe, but she was drunk, so I'll give her that. Neither Gabe nor I am comfortable with this. He doesn't know how to push it aside without hurting their feelings. My mom has told my sister countless times how this is inappropriate, but my sister always gets defensive and says that Joe chose him and it's not her fault. Things blew up last week when Joe asked Gabriel if he could call him Dad because Mom said it was fine. My sister was looking at them with the biggest smile on her face, and I could notice how my mom and my brother were expecting his answer. Neither of them agrees with it. He sat Joe on his knee and kindly explained to him how he wasn't his dad or even a dad figure, that he was Aunt's OP's soon-to-be husband, and that made him his favourite uncle. But even if he wasn't his dad, he would never leave him and they'll always be best friends. Being the sweet kid, Joe laughed and smiled and said it was okay. Then he ran into the living room to play with something. I think the situation resolved itself okay, but my sister didn't like it and started to fight with us. My mom kept telling her to shut up, but she was saying things like, "What's wrong with you two? How can you say no to a little kid? He sees you as a father, so you should be proud of that." I had enough, and I told her that Gabriel wasn't Joe's dad and that she needed to stop acting as if he was because it was honestly embarrassing. She called me a selfish idiot and said that I was jealous of her kid. I just rolled my eyes and we decided to leave after. She later sent me a text saying that it was best to step out of Joe's life for a while or end up confusing him because he doesn't understand that Gabriel is not daddy. But as far as I could see, he got it pretty well. Not the idiot, but you know your sister wants your fiancé, right? I find it hard to believe she'd be pushing the dad angle without having any romantic interest in him. In any case, she could probably use some therapy to help with whatever issues she's dealing with. An average person doesn't see their sister's fiancé as a viable father for their kid. OP, she is jealous of your life and wants to marry your fiancé and make him her kid's dad. Distance yourselves. I'm not sure it's romantic. Some women have no problem having a guy around to do all the non-intimate related guy stuff. She's just using him for a free father figure and other free Mr. Fix-It bennies. Actually, now that I think about it, we don't have any insight into sister's true feelings as a mother. If she can find a father figure for her son, it would allow her to leave Joe with OP and skip town. OP, what you've described is not the portrait of a good mother at all. She dated recklessly and introduced her very young child to multiple random men. She fosters a delusional attachment to a soon-to-be uncle and has already encouraged him to call the uncle dad. She is no longer inviting your brother to Joe's events, instead of asking Gabe to continually step into the father role. And now that you've drawn a really firm boundary with her, she's asking you and Gabe to have only minimal contact with her son, using him as a pawn to manipulate you into behaving how she wants, or at least punishing you for not doing what she wants. That only hurts Joe. She is decidedly not a good mother. My husband, 38, and I, 35 female, have a young baby. He's currently a stay-at-home dad because he works in politics, so his work is cyclical. I know he's really busy all day at home. However, the second I step through the door from my full-time job, he hands me the baby and he's off the clock. Most weekends, all I do is take care of our son because my husband says that's his time off. This has resulted in me basically never getting a break. Whenever I'm not working at my actual job, I take care of our son or do chores. I asked my husband repeatedly to at least split some of the work on weekends, but he refused and said he does that on Monday to Friday and that it's my job when I'm at home. It's not like he doesn't do any chores during the week, but most of his day is consumed by taking care of the baby, so a lot of things like laundry get left to the weekend, aka me. I'm so burned out. I told my husband I want to hire a babysitter on weekends so I could just have a break for a few hours, and he said it was a huge waste of money. This past weekend, while he went out with friends, I hired a babysitter and just took a nap. He got home while she was still there, woke me up, and told me I was throwing our money down the toilet. He said I needed to figure out how to juggle being a working mom. I refused to apologize for hiring the sitter and plan to do it again. We're currently not speaking except for necessities related to the baby. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Childcare isn't a job where you clock in and clock out. It's full-time. He doesn't babysit while you work, he parents. And parenting never ends. If he doesn't want to step up and parent, and you want to stay married to him, babysitter's the way to go. He should be your partner, but he's decided that he's not. He's 100% wrong. Not the idiot. Feel free to get dressed one beautiful Saturday morning, tell him yesterday was his day off and today is yours, and leave. Walk right out that door and go get a massage, play tennis, spend the afternoon at the bookstore, block his calls, do what you need to feel better. Tell him again that you can't work all day and do childcare and housework all night and weekend. It's not even a division of work. You deserve 2 or 3 nights off a week and sometimes every weekend. If he doesn't like it, suggest he get a job and hire a nanny. I like where you're coming from, but I don't think leaving your husband with your baby and then blocking his calls is great advice, nor is it a healthy approach. OP, welcome to the wonderful world of the working mom. We truly have it all, but does he have any redeeming qualities that make this marriage worth it? If you get a divorce, you will get every other weekend off. Maybe point this out.